Welcome back, everyone, to another top 10 list. We kind of had to call an audible this week because Tucker Carlson was just fired like literally like an hour and a half ago. And so we, like Fox, are now scrambling to figure out who is gonna be filling his time slot. So Francesca and I have pulled together a top 10 list of Tucker Carlson replacements. And you might be thinking, like, best replacements, worst replacements, funniest replacements. And to that I say, yes. All the different types. So Francesca, we previously had to do this for the Daily Show. We put together a list. We've suggested some SNL cast members. I think it might be time to do an updated version of that, actually, or hosts. But for now, we're talking about replacements for Tucker Carlson. It's an important time slot with a very important and well-respected audience. So with that said, who you got at number 5 to replace Tuckums?
Okay, my number 5 is just it's a camera. It is like a GoPro on the porch of the 84-year-old who shot Ralph Yarl. So, homie, it's mostly babbles, but he talks a lot to himself about the Latinos and the blacks, and he talks a lot about crime, and he's mostly just like rocking back and forth. And I feel like that amount of psychobabble racism is just it's basically like, it's like home movies, but Tucker Carlson's Hour replaced by a dude who's just been sucking on nothing but Tucker and probably knows his talking points better than he does.
Probably at this point, and is only marginally more likely to shoot a person on an average day than Tucker would be. Also, it would be kind of beautiful. It's like how I listened to TYT for years and then became a host.
Right.
You get a Fox brain person to eventually be elevated. It sort of makes sense.
Yes.
He is the everyman, at least as Fox News is.
They could swap in too if someone's, you know what I mean? But it's just the porch. It's GoPro on like reactionary's porch.
Jesus. Anyway, that's a good number 5. My number 5 is for each of these, I kind of have, depending on what Fox wants to focus on, what their concern is. And a lot of people think that Tucker Carlson obviously had an issue with boycotts and stuff. He didn't have a lot of good advertisers, and he cost them a lot of money when it came to the Dominion lawsuit. So this is a focus on making as much money as possible. And that would be that if they got Mike Lindell to fill the slot. Not that he would draw in advertisers or even viewers, but it is possible that you could get Mike Lindell to pay Fox $1 million for every episode that he gets to host.
Oh yeah, no, he works for just like some like cashews, just like a small bag of 7 cashews. That dude would work every single day.
An IV of a mixed caffeine and heroin. But he would advertise. It would just be Mike Lindell and then advertisements of Mike Lindell and then more Mike Lindell. It'd be a perfect loop of Mike Lindell.
Yeah, hermetically sealed Lindell.
What's your number 4?
Number 4, God, I think I'm going women on this. And somebody mentioned it in the chat, and I actually think this was really smart. I think Tulsi Gabbard is a good pick. I think Tulsi, because she is I used to be a so-called progressive, which we know, this is TYT, we know that lane sells very well. And so Tulsi would be a good pick. She also speaks she's filled in for Tucker Carlson before. She is as scary as Tucker Carlson is in her own way. She has that sort of, again, like death knell stare. She is kind of unconventional, like actually asking, why am I forgetting what his name is? Anthony DeVolder?
Oh yeah.
Like, wait, is that who she grilled?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. So all this to say, like, she's a good pick. She is she will make you scared of the same groups of people that Tucker Carlson will make you scared of. And she will absolutely go after the wokes, even though, she herself is a woman and a woman of color. Like, it doesn't matter. Yeah. So they'll feel even more sort of righteous and emboldened, just like every minority who carries water for white nationalism. So yeah.
Yeah, we should also bear in mind that based on what I have seen on Twitter, your average conservative male has maxed out the meter for being horny for Tulsi Gabbard. So they also have that going for it. Like, I don't think that should be how they pick, but it's what I've seen on Twitter. I think working against Tulsi Gabbard is, one, they love having people from groups come on and say that those groups are bad, but they don't often elevate that person to the top of the heap.
Yes.
They're like kind of in a secondary role. Also, she is amongst the most boring broadcasters that I've ever witnessed in my life. She is really, really bad at it, like shockingly bad at this point.
She's very monotone. And you can't, it's difficult to maintain intrigue and interest. And also, haven't seen her go sleeveless. And this is Fox News, baby. We're talking falsies and sleeveless dresses.
Wait, falsie what?
Falsies, like fake eyelashes.
Oh, okay, there you go. There, she can handle that. Okay, interestingly, for my number 4, I did also go with a woman. I threw in this just to spice up the list because I don't think that they would give a woman the top spot.
No.
I don't think they respect women, but I've got kind of like a younger version of the classic archetype they like. It's Tomi Lahren just as a stand-in. I don't think that they would do this. They don't really seem to like Tomi Lahren. I'm not sure why it is. Maybe it's that she occasionally goes rogue and says something she truly believes, like about abortion or whatever. And you're not supposed to do that in Fox. You're supposed to just say what the audience wants to hear. And Tomi Lahren, like, every once in a while gives an honest opinion. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe she's terrible to work with behind the scenes, but from what we've seen, Fox does not seem interested. And you would think that she was a lock. But anyway, she is very conservative, very combative. She loves to condescend and insult people, and they would love all of that. So one would think that she would do well there. It's a possibility if they want to go in that direction.
That is actually my number 3. So Tomi Lahren, absolutely. I mean, I think Tomi Lahren is an effective communicator. I think she is interesting to listen to. She goes sleeveless. She's blonde. Check, check, check. But I totally agree. Weirdly, she's been sidelined. She's not come on as a contributor as much. And it is so funny that like the thing that she's honest about is the thing that up until this summer had been just the law of the land, which is that yes, people deserve reproductive rights. You should decide when you become a parent. End of story. End of story. This should be a no-brainer for conservatives. And so I'm almost annoyed that Tomi Lahren, and of course, yes, it's sexism, it's patriarchy, but it's also, again, my call out to the Republican right wing, the women and on the right, just like, take the reins, bitches, It's just so bad. Because yeah, she's racist and bigoted against every other group, but she has a little soft spot for, women and people who can give birth, herself.
Her group.
Not that much of an idiot to openly like advocate against her own self-interest. Because she's a right winger. They love their own self-interest.
Yeah, well, she won't go to like the level of like an Ann Coulter saying women shouldn't be allowed to vote. That sort of like self-parody.
Totally.
Good choice. My number 3 is gonna go in the exact opposite direction because I personally think that as much as the right is loving attacking trans people and the LGBTQ, it's like sort of the classics for them. I think the future of the right wing is misogyny. And so I think they should get an international host, Andrew Tate. Just give it to him.
Oh my God.
It can be like him just hanging out, smoking a cigar and talking about how you should be able to like body slam women or whatever. And I think that the Fox News audience would love it. They would love it. First of all, as much as they say that they're against the elites, they love bowing down to wealthy people, and he loves to imply that he's super wealthy, so they'll like that. They love the misogyny, the idea that someone could potentially get away with sexual assault and domestic violence. A lot of them fantasize about that. So I think Andrew Tate, he could probably use the money right now for his legal defense, and I think it would appeal to a lot of the right-wing misogynists who watch Tucker Carlson.
He was on my list. He's absolutely on my list. Yeah, he's on my list. He's on my list because even though he's a massive liability and turns out, and we shall see, but you can't call women in the middle of the night and say that you want to put a falafel on there, which is what Bill O'Reilly straight up did.
Yeah.
So. ugh, not a falafel. Anyway, but like, so Andrew Tate's a total liability and they wouldn't, but they so would. Like if he skirts these sex trafficking laws, they would. Why? Because he's also an effective speaker, even though he's a massive idiot. And he speaks to young people and they know how much clout that he has on the internet and they want a little bit of that. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Man, we've got a lot of overlap.
I know.
By the way, one extra thing that I think Andrew Tate provides a little bit of certainty to Fox News, because with every other man on Fox News, as a Fox executive, you're wondering, when are they going to be accused of sexual harassment or sexual assault? Right. He already has been, so you don't have to worry about that. Exactly. Anyway,
that was
my number two. Yeah, my last two are the more serious, I guess. I don't know that this guy would take the number 2 slot, like that he would want to do it, but why doesn't Fox News just do a video broadcast of like Joe Rogan's show?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you might think, well, that's not news. Yeah, but neither is Fox, neither is Tucker. Like Tucker doesn't go through the news of the day. He chooses a weird thing about eating bugs or tanning your testicles, and then he does an hour on it. He talks about M&Ms. Joe Rogan does random stuff too. And he's actually popular.
Yeah.
And you might even bring in some people who don't think of themselves yet as being conservatives. Wait until they listen to Joe Rogan for a few years. But I think that would kind of work. I don't know, just broadcast 1 hour of his 3-hour podcast.
I mean, it is really interesting that you like mentioned that in the context of what Tucker does. And it is true. It's like, it's not the news of the day. It's not what's most important. Obviously, half of that stuff is like, oh, what crime did Donald Trump do today, right? It is, let's pick a very niche thing, policy, which is actually kind of interesting because they cover Biden policy almost more than like other news outlets cover Biden policy, but they do it only to point out this policy is trying to lean into equity or discussing, racial racial disparities, and they're trying to right the wrongs. That means it's woke and we're gonna talk about it. So it's actually kind of effed if you think about how they almost do a better job of covering Biden's policies than like MSNBC or CNN does often, because they want to get outraged about it. So I'm putting that aside, but I think it is interesting. You're right. It's the cherry picking to get outraged by.
Yeah. Well, what does that leave for number 1?
Okay, so a little, let's see, a little different, a little bit in the more centrist lane, but I feel like if they gave this person enough padding and promises and support and production, they could be a very good mouthpiece for the right, and has been. And that is Meghan McCain. Meghan McCain, I agree with you, might not get the top spot, might not get prime time. But if you butter her up enough and get her going on like a little bit of trans people, a little bit of like lefties are too woke, and give her that hour, I think she could be an effective tool for them. Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't the right hate her because she's not a fan of Trump? Like, I feel like she's too divisive on the right. Like,
but they're trying to steer their audience away from Trump anyway. So I mean, I don't know if it's prime time, but it's like true. it's weaseling her back in. I mean, is Megyn Kelly ready to come back yet? What the hell?
I mean, that might be a possibility. She has gotten kind of even crazier since she left Fox.
So much crazier.
I don't know about Meghan McCain. I could see them trying her out on like the 5 if they boosted up Jesse Waters or something. God. I don't know. That's an interesting wild card. I wonder what people think about that. My number 1, I'm gonna say a person's name, but it could really be one of like several different people. It doesn't really matter. They're all very similar. I'm gonna say Matt Walsh.
Yep, I was gonna say that too. Yeah.
Like I was gonna say just an AI chatbot that says transphobic stuff, but then I realized they have that and it's called Matt Walsh. So why not just have one of the independent right wingers who believe all the exact same things as the establishment Republicans, but are like 2 years younger than Jesse Waters or something? Just have them come on. He'll say absolutely insane, racist, misogynistic, transphobic stuff. Maybe even more like unrestrained by worries about how this reflects on them or their family than Tucker would. And if they flame out in a year and there's a lawsuit or we find out what's on their hard drive or something, who cares? You replace them with another cog in the machine next year. Like there are like 8 different Matt Walshes at the Daily Wire right now anyway.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good pick. It's a good pick because you need a supposedly straight cis white guy who sounds like an authority, and this one has a beard, sure.
That'll mix it up.
He looks a little, I've always felt like he's kind of like the IPA conservative, like he's sort of looks like he's a hipster, gets a lot of plaid and again the beard. But I think he's a good pick. It's just funny because also you're like, none of them have to be like alpha. Remember, like Tucker would just be like, oh, what happened to the alpha men? Oh, like that was his.
They don't have any. Like, I don't know what they should do.
No, they're all cucks.
Yeah, Andrew Tate smokes a lot of cigars to get the appearance of it, but I don't buy it. So anyway, I think that's a possibility. Look, I think realistically they're gonna like boost up Jesse Waters or something, and Jesse Waters will be told to be 30% more racist than he is right now, and he'll do it because he doesn't have any other monetizable skills. So
and he happened to marry the woman that he sexually harassed in the office. So hey, that worked out for him.
It's almost romantic. It's gonna be very interesting to see who is in that slot tonight, though, because they have to have a show. So is it Tulsi? Do they just bring her in? Like, yeah. I don't know. We're gonna see. But thank you, Francesca, as always, for coming up with your list.
There's a name you didn't mention, but you mentioned in the meantime.
Who's that?
Mr. JD.
Oh God,
and
we'll see.
Not Johnny Depp.
I think they would just go with Tulsi in that case. I think it accomplishes much of the same thing, but we'll see.
That's true.
We'll see. Anyway, thank you everyone out there for supporting us and making this extra content possible. We appreciate it as always. If you have ideas for top 10 lists, as always, you can let us know, and we'll see you in the next one.